Hello everybody, this is Conquering History Games, and welcome back to another guide to a nation in the world of Kaiserreich, Hearts of Iron 4. We are in version Alpha 0.5.2, and today's guide, as chosen by the Patreons, is going to be Serbia under Petar Bojovic. So there's just a little something that I want to go over before I get started on this guide. Now, post-production me is going to go ahead and flash a picture on the screen. Okay, it should be up now. If you're somebody who wants to talk about different Slavic nationalities and why yours is better than others and who owns what and who is what, I want you to get a piece of paper, write down everything you see here, fill it in, then crumple it up as tight as you can. Crumple up that paper into a ball as tight as you can and just shove it in your mouth and down your throat until you begin to choke. Then, as you begin to lose oxygen and the life is fading from your body, I want you to then go down to the YouTube comment section, and I want you to type CHG, Conquering History Games, is right. The YouTube comments section of a gaming channel is not the appropriate place to scream about Slavic nationalism. And then right before the light goes out from your eyes and you pass out and die, I want you to be sure to click send so that the comment goes through. Okay? Would you do that for me? Thank you very much. Alright, picture should be gone now. So, we're going to be playing Serbia. Well, not playing Serbia. I'm going to be doing this guide on Serbia. And let's just head into it and talk about what it's like. So this is Serbia right here in the Balkans, teeny tiny, recently given a focus tree by the developers as of 0.5. And very interesting. Well, let's just wait for it to go through. So I like to call Serbia Diet Russia, which is not a bad thing. But what I mean is, a lot of its mechanics, a lot of the way that it plays out is very reminiscent to me of Russia. So if you're somebody who's a little bit nervous about playing a major nation, Serbia could be a good place to go. Now, there's a lot of material that we got to go over here. So we're going to, as usual, just start with the alerts, going left to right. 3 research slots, pretty standard. You don't have a ton of technology researched, although you do already have Weapons 1. You do already have the Mountaineers. You've got Recon, but not Engineering, interestingly enough. No tanks. No predetermined battle plans. Absolutely no naval research, including transports. Don't forget that. You have no naval transports available to you. You will eventually be able to get some naval technology if you own a coastal province. And of course, no naval. You only have basic fighters and tactical bombers, no air, no engineering, no industry whatsoever. So you're probably just going to do the main 3 for your first research slots. Okay, moving on. Civilian factories, you only have 6, 3 of which are being taken up by consumer good factories. Military factories, you only have 3, and of course no naval dockyards because you do not border any ocean or sea or major body of water other than this river that goes through you. As far as your army goes, only 8 divisions, but an interesting assortment here. You have some that are your typical, what seems to be the preset 18 combat with the support artillery. Let's just go ahead and change there. Okay, so there you have it. You have some mountaineer units, some cavalry units, and some basic infantry, as well as the infantry that have fire support. You have plenty of commanders, but none of them are amazing, although you do have Field Marshal Nedik here, as well as several generals. Mihailovic here, apologies for all pronunciations as usual. He's your level 3 general, and he comes with the out-of-supply bonus, but you've got Recon here, and you have Mountaineers. So you got a decent amount of generals. You shouldn't be having to create any more anytime soon. Let's go ahead and dismiss those. Now, let's actually talk about the... Well, no. First, let's talk about national spirits. You have one national spirit, Jingoistic Reclaimers. So, actually, I forgot to do this, so I'll just do it now. But as I said, what I'm going to try to start doing in these guides is talk a little bit about the situation that these countries are in when it's 1936 in the Kaiserreich alternate history timeline. So, as I'm sure you already know, the basis for the Kaiserreich timeline is that Germany won World War I. And as a result of that, this has bigger ramifications than just Germany owning more land from France than usual. Because they won, their allies also won, so that's why the Austro-Hungarian Empire is still intact, sort of. and the Ottomans are also still intact. Now, there was also war in the Balkans. Serbia is kind of where it all started with the assassination of Franz Ferdinand. So they lost to Austria, but what you also have to remember is that Bulgaria had sided with the Central Powers during World War II. World War I, pardon me. So you have Germany, Austria, Bulgaria, and the Ottomans right here. The ones that had sided with the Allies were Romania, Serbia, and Greece. So for this, they were punished in treaties after the war. And so Bulgaria was expanded. So Bulgaria was able to take Silestra here along the coast, and Dobrudza from Romania. So as you see here, there are foreign claims. They do have cores on these two areas. Greece lost Solon, so basically Thessalonica here, as well as Kavala, and this place. And Serbia lost Macedonia and Pirot. So Bulgaria got much bigger. And you also have these claims here. They're not cores, though. They're just claims. And that's important to know for later. They're just claims. And a big part of what Serbia wants is, of course, they harbor a large amount of animosity towards the Austrians because they occupied Serbia militarily until 1922, after which Petar Bojovic here, Bojovic became the regent, because it is technically a kingdom. And he's been ruling it ever since, so it's been about 14 years at this point. And but they know that they can't beat Austria. It would be suicide. I mean, you only start with 8 divisions here. Austria starts with, somewhere between 21 and 36. And that's not even counting the other members of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So they know they can't beat the Austrians. So you're going to be wanting to facing south first against the Bulgarians, although they also outnumber you at the start. And so that's what leads to this national spirit, the Jingoistic Reclaimers, because these are the people who are upset that Serbia has become such a small rump state, and they are determined to get their land back. So the nation is militarized, so you have an additional 3% recruitable population. Take note, though, that even with that additional 3% and your unlimited conscription, you still only have about 89k available manpower at this stage. You can increase that later in a variety of ways. So that's Serbia's situation. Now, let's take a look at the focuses here. Over here, you have your political choices. I'm going to talk about those later because you can't get to them yet. Same with the Congress of Belgrade. We're not going to talk about that yet. So these are the things that you can do at the start. You can choose an economic policy. You can choose an army reform. And you can expand the Air Force. Down here, you have your Naval Tree, which I suppose I'll talk about first, since it's the most irrelevant at the early part of the game, is you can build your first ships here once you have a state that's coastal, and you'll get some early technologies, and it's just basic stuff, naval doctrine, getting research bonuses. You can buy the HMS Lion from Canada, that's kind of interesting, but nothing spectacular down here, not that I'm saying there should be. Your expanding of the Air Force is a little bit interesting because you have a really great bonus here, for example. So usually, personally, I only use regular fighters if I'm fighting in Europe. Europe's not an enormous continent like Asia. Usually fighters are good enough. But however, if you chose heavy fighter effort, you actually get a 100% reduced ahead of time penalty on them. So you could conceivably, early on in the game, research Heavy Fighter 1 and then Heavy Fighter 2, and you can have 1940 version of the Heavy Fighter very, very early. Of course, you might not want to focus on your Air Force early on in the game. That might be something you want to do later after you've gotten some more territory, in which case you could still use that, research it, and get the Heavy Fighter 3 very quickly. And like when you look at the agility, which is something that one of probably the most important stat when it comes to fighters, these are 33, and the Fighter 2 is still 65, so it's still not as good, but you're getting other benefits like air attack 27 versus air attack 54, and of course the difference in the range between these two is doubled, and you could just pause these whenever you want and you get the difference here. But what I'm saying is, if you're somebody who likes heavy fighter, Serbia is pretty cool. Bomber focuses, you could either go tactical or close air support, where again you get that reduced ahead of time penalty. Really, this is probably better than the heavy fighter, but they're all good, and you could also get rockets, more air bases, things like that. Now, interestingly enough, with Serbia, you can actually get paratroopers. You can get Paratrooper 3 pretty quickly if you go with Paratrooper effort. If you research... Okay. If you go over here to your infantry, if you researched Paratrooper 1, take you 190 days. You can then get down here to Paratroop effort and reduce the ahead of time penalty by 100% for any one of the paratroopers. And you also could grab, where is it, Special Forces here for 50% research bonus. So conceivably, you could research Paratroopers 1, grab Special Forces for Paratroopers 2, and then get the 100% reduced ahead of time penalty for Paratroopers 3. So you could get it in maybe, let me see here, let me double check. I should have written this down before I started. Okay, so this will take you 691 days. Cut that in half, but this also takes about 200 days, so 400. You could probably get Paratrooper 3 by 1938, and it's a 1943 level technology. So I just think that's kind of funny and interesting. All right, so that's the Navy and the air branches. Speaking of air, you only have 50 planes. Some fighters, some tactical bombers, that's it. Now, the Army branch is divided in two. You can either go with the Superior Firepower Doctrine or the Grand Battle Plan Doctrine. Now, what I'm about to say is imperative. When you are making the decision between these two, it is more than just what land doctrine you are going to get research bonuses for. Because they each have additional bonuses on their tree path, which can radically change how you choose to play the game. For example, the Grand Battle Plan branch can give you a land fort construction speed bonus and also gives you 3% additional recruitable population. So this might be a more defensive way to play. On the other hand, you can get 3% additional 3% recruitable population at the bottom, so maybe it's if you need a lot more manpower. Although keep in mind the amount of time you have to spend to go down here. These are all 70-day focuses. The Superior Firepower Plan gives you, the armor and the motorized efforts here, as well as a Patriotic Spirit, which only gives you 1% recruitable population at the end, but you get additional attack and defense on core territory. Though you can expand your cores later, as I've said. So these arguably could both be seen as defensive. They can both be used in offensive ways. But you really, when you're deciding, don't just think about the land doctrine. Go down here, see what's giving you factories, see what you're getting research bonuses in, because it's more than just that. All right, moving over here to the industrial focus tree. So it's a pretty small one. Serbia is not hit by Black Monday. There's not really much in the way of exclusivity here, except for our agriculture or industry, which one you want to focus on. The agriculture gives you less factories initially, but you get a research bonus to your industry and more building slots. Whereas here you get one more factory, but you don't get the research bonus or the building slots. But it's more than that, really. Because if you focus on the agriculture, that's what you have to do to support the peasants. Now, supporting the peasants, this gives you another research bonus. So if you went down the left, it's a research bonus, research bonus, research bonus, research bonus. You get 4 on this side, as well as more building slots. But if you go on the right, you get more factories here, and then you can get steel and tungsten, which can be good because you only have steel. That's your only available resource. So it can make you make artillery slower because you do not have access to the tungsten, or you have to trade away from factories, which you already don't have very many of, for that. And then they both lead to the 4th research slot. So everything on this half of the focus tree is available for you to take immediately. There's no restrictions to it as far as time goes. Now, let's go ahead and just grab the... Well, we don't have to really grab anything. This is just a guide, so we're not gonna take anything, and let's just get the clock going. Now, here's just the explanation of the Kingdom of Serbia, and you can pause and read it on your own time. All right. Now, the reason that I was saying that Serbia is reminiscent to me of Russia is that because many of you who have probably played Russia, or even if you haven't, may know, it's that. Yeah, I'll take a focus. It is just so we can have the political power be drained from it. All right, is that Russia has several different options available to it, but you don't make, as far as political choices go, but you do not make that final decision until it's been about a year or more. Now, you have 3 options as Serbia. You can continue the regency, crown the king, or declare a republic. And then there are subsets down here. None of these you can take before February of 1937. So add up those 70-day focuses and figure out, all right, what do I want to research before I begin to work on my political tree? And you probably are going to want to do that right away. Now, the continuing of the regency is good if you want to stay authoritarian Democrat. And I'm just going to highlight these so you can read them on your own time. But basically, Petar Božović, he was a military man. He fought in many, many wars. He was even technically a field marshal during the invasion of Yugoslavia in the original timeline, although he didn't really participate in it. And then he was beaten to death in his 90s in 1945. Literally beaten to death. Anyway, so this is the military way to go, and as a result, you get the additional reinforced rate and recovery rate when you get to the bottom, because you've militarized the society. This is also one of the paths that gives you access to the strong state, which gives you 0.2 additional daily political power and more national unity. These sorts of things, I used to just dismiss national unity all the time, but these sorts of things are growing more and more important as we get closer to the changes, the major changes that are coming up in, I think, December in Hearts of Iron for Vanilla, where national unity is going to have effects on how much recruitable population you have, how you can change your industry, and all sorts of things like that. All right, let's grab another focus here. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by the toe. You know, I'm not saying agriculture is the better one. I'm just clicking things. All right, Pope's dead. Now, next up is the crowning of the king. So this is where you can choose Alexander as your monarch. As you can see there, he becomes the head of the authoritarian Democratic Party. Then there is another split between absolutism and constitutionalism. The absolutism branch will once again eventually lead to the strong state, but along the way, the Sprska Nacionalna Stratka will become the ruling party. So you become paternal autocrat if you go the absolutism way, and you also get lots of new ministers. You get more addition of attack and defense on core territory, so maybe if you're into that sort of thing, you could stack this monument to an unknown hero with the, patriotic spirit, and you're at plus 20% on your defense. Now, glory to the king, again, more national unity and just 150 political power. Well, not just, that's good. Next, to the right is constitutionalism. This is where you actually can choose what party will be in power, and I'll show this later. But you can then get the free society, which reduces your consumer good factories by 10%, although keep in mind you don't have very many, so that could be good or bad, depending on how much land you've grabbed for yourself and how many factories you're building. You get a little bit of political power here, not as much as glory to the king, but you also get a civilian factory, and then this leads to democracy on the Balkans, which I think is supposed to say in the Balkans. I think that's a typo they're going to fix. And you get the ideology Beacon of Liberty, which lowers your which increases your ideological drift defense, which has, it has no application really in Kaiserreich unless they're going to change something later. But you get more political power gain, also 0.2.5 compared to 0.2.0. Finally, you can declare the republic, and this is where you can hold elections, although you also will under constitutionalism. But you get a few more options here. For example, here you see your new head of government is a social liberal compared to constitutionalism, where your head of government is a social conservative. So you can compare and contrast those two. You can get freedom. Again, more national unity and political power, and then scientific effort, reduced research time, which seems to be the theme for kind of more liberal democracies in Kaiserreich. It's, if you're a liberal democracy, you can research faster. If you're more authoritarian, you get better military stuff. And this also leads to democracy on the Balkans, but this also can lead to a democratic Bulgaria, which we'll talk about later when we get to the Bulgarian Ultimatum. Now, over here, the Congress of Belgrade. Now, you cannot take this until after May of 1937, so presumably after you have already chosen which political branch you want and maybe taken one more focus. Also, keep in mind, the declaring of the Republic, crowning the king, or regency, these all just take a week, so they're the shortest focuses can possibly be. Also, the constitutionalism or absolutism will bypass themselves when you get there. You don't actually have to research them, although it would only take 7 days if you did, but you don't have to. Now, the Congress of Belgrade is where you are going to be trying to create the Belgrade Pact, which I'll talk about more when we get there. But after that, you need to decide if you want to form Greater Serbia, when you're wanting to make Serbia a stronger country, or if you want to create a Slavic federation of all the Slavic people, or pretty much all the Slavic people. That's the idea. Now, the taking of the Slavic federation will cost you political power, but this could lead to the formation of Yugoslavia, whereas Greater Serbia gives you political power and leads to the Serbian nation. So what's the difference here? The Serbian nation gives you claims on what could be conceivably be Greater Serbia. So a lot of it's in Illyria here, like Dalmatia, sorry about pronunciation, Crna Bosna. I think you get this also, Srijem. Am I forgetting any of them? Oh yeah, we're missing some. Yeah, you get, here we go, Vajdasag, no, you got Bansag, and then Bansag. So there, you guys all now got to laugh at me. Oh wait, no, I think it's right here. You get this. Anyway, so those are your cores. However, if you get the formation of Yugoslavia, you get cores on a wider area. For example, Posnavina, which is, where is that again? Boy, don't I look so professional. Here we go. You get up to here to like Posnavina, so you get a little bit more of Illyria. So it's bigger, and basically you get cores on all the Yugoslavian land, like in the original timeline. So you get to come over up here a little bit as well. Also remember that, like, while at the start all your ministers are authoritarian Democrats, you may want to change them later because some of them don't have great effects depending on which political branch you take. We're just not going to take anything for right now. Now, there are also a bunch of smaller claims you can make here. For example, the status of Montenegro, where you will ask Illyria for Montenegro, which is not called that, actually, but it's here. It's a Crna Gora. You ask them for this, and they will or will not give it to you. And then you can go for Bosna, you can claim Dalmatia. Basically think of it like original timeline Germany, where they're asking for land that is full of people of German ethnicity, so they want that. That's pretty much what's going on here. You are demanding that while you build up your army. But you want to be cautious about this because Illyria is a puppet of the Austrian Empire. It is a part of the Austrian Empire, so you cannot just go to war with them and not expect all of the Austrian Empire to attack you. Now, the Austrian Empire could be weak, it could be strong. You have to really, it's very important that you sort of time correctly when you want to do this. Attack them, that is. Another thing you're going to want to watch out for is the Ottoman Empire, but again, we're going to talk about that later. All right, so you could, these are basically all of your claims, and they eventually will lead to the expanding of Belgrade University. Keep in mind that you cannot take either a Serbian nation or Yugoslavia until you own several different areas of the Balkans. So this 5th research slot is going to be cut off to you until you've until you've fought the Austrian Empire. You also could eventually get the focus to conquer Slovenia against the Austrian Empire. That's technically how you get your war goal, but it's kind of strange because the way it works as far as the focuses go is you can get conquer goals against Illyria, against Hungary, and then eventually against the Austrian Empire, but these are probably all going to be united either by a puppet relation or by direct occupation by the Austrian Empire, and so you'll be at war with them way before that. So you're not really ever going to take this, although this does give you cores on like Crane, for example, which is right here, Crane and Kustenland, so Slovenia up here. Now the only thing that's left to talk about is the ultimatum to Bulgaria and the things that develop out of that, when we are nearly there, but I'm probably just going to cut ahead to when I've taken that focus. Alright, here we are back in 1937, March of 1937 to be exact, and it's time to pick who you want to do. So I just wanted to show you the crowning of the king first. because you're just going to get this pop-up where you can go for absolutism, pause it if you want, read through the ministers, or constitutionalism, which will also cost you minus 40 political power, but this is where you get the choice. And then there's Alexander II, very handsome looking young man. So I just wanted to show you that real quick. That is what the form of the monarchy would be. Now, if you instead were to declare the republic, you're actually going to get a brand new leader. And then you can call for elections. You have the social liberals, social conservatives, and the, well, technically this is not an election, but you can have a coup happen. In fact, let's just see what the coup does. So this is a minus 300, and you have, yes, that is indeed General Draza, one and the same. He takes over the government. Now, when that happens, yeah, you're always going to get high popularity is going to be standard, pretty much. Whatever it is that you take, you're going to get at least 60% popularity. But you might notice you can then continue to go down the path of freedom, even though there's just been a military coup in the government. So that's kind of interesting, and that leads to democracy in the Balkans. All right, so we're gonna keep moving now, and then we're gonna take a look at the Congress of Belgrade. Alright, so now we're going to look at the Congress of the Belgrad. So when this happens, you can choose to not open the Congress for some reason and cost yourself 100 political power, but we're just going to go ahead and open it. Now, Greece has joined the Belgrade Pact, and Romania joined the Belgrade Pact. Okay, cool. Those are the two people who you talk to. Now, if for some reason one of them does not join you, and Romania could have a very good reason for doing that, which I'll talk about later, but sometimes Greece will not join the pact. So this is the new faction here. If that happens, you actually can ask the Ottoman Empire to join the pact. And I bring this up because it's important for how the war against Bulgaria will play out. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So let's say you send the ultimatum to Bulgaria. This is only a 28-day focus, by the way, and you say you want your land back. They're, of course, going to completely ignore you. And then you can choose to have peace, which will cost you 100 political power. That's not the point. I mean, what are you doing? If you're not going to go to war with Bulgaria, why are you playing Serbia? So you can send the ultimatum. And, well, I've just been made a liar. In all of my testing, this is the first time they ever gave in. Wow, they gave all the land back. That is so weird. Okay, but anyway, usually the Ottomans and the Germans will threaten to back up Bulgaria's claims. If Greece chooses that they do not want to join the pact, you actually can offer the Ottoman Empire to join, and they have chosen to support Bulgaria. So it doesn't cost you any political power. It's not as if they create a faction or something, but they're usually going to support Bulgaria anyway. But if for some reason the Ottoman Empire does join the Belgrade Pact, you still will get the pop-up when it's time to go to war with Bulgaria, or right before you do, that they are going to support Bulgaria. Then when the war starts, they will then leave your faction, but they will go to war with Bulgaria. I know that sounds weird and confusing, but trust me, that's how it'll play out. Okay, so let's say it's time to send the ultimatum. You send it to them. And alright, here we go. Now they're doing it the way they usually do most of the time. They will ignore the ultimatum and you will immediately declare war on them and begin the Fourth Balkan War. Should be getting the pop-up about it right here. Now don't forget to actually call in your allies because they do not automatically accept. And so then you're going to go to war with Bulgaria. There really isn't any reason why you shouldn't win. World tension is going to go up, but I mean, you've got all your allies around you. It should be fine. Okay, it's now after the war with Bulgaria. In this case, Greece did not join the Belgrade Pact. They did not fight with you, but you can offer to give them Southern Macedonia, and in exchange they join the pact, or you can say it's part of our occupation zone and we'll keep it. So that would be Thessalonica here, and Kval, and Thraiki. So you get to keep these or give them to the Greeks. It's totally up to you. We're just going to keep it part of our occupation zone for now. You also then can choose to divide Bulgaria into the occupation zones, in which case you will get a national spirit called Occupation of Bulgaria, which costs you additional consumer good factories and daily political power because of the effort and resources that you're devoting to do that. Or you can let them have their independence and you'll lose 100 political power. So do you want to be draining it slowly, or do you want to lose a bunch at once? So let's divide it into occupation zones for now, in which case you also give some to give Romania their claimed lands and a little bit more. When that happens, you have a national focus called end the occupation, which will get rid of that national spirit. You develop the area a little bit, and also Romania gets rid of their national spirit called the Occupation Romania. So it becomes a puppet of yours. You give them some factories. They're friendly. They're in the Belgrade Pact. It's all hunky-dory. And then you can develop them some more later. You also can then integrate Macedonia, which will give you cores, and develop it as well. So it's kind of similar to the Austrian tree down here, where you can develop your areas. Incidentally, they also recently redid the Protector of the Balkans, so this actually is a functioning branch of their focus tree now. So keep an eye out for this, all you Austrian players. So now you've taken care of the Bulgarian threat. Maybe you've occupied them, maybe you just took Macedonia, you took some stuff from the Greece, whatever. That is when you then can start to head after the Austrians, which I already talked about in rather great detail. So Serbia is really fun. Like I said, it strikes me as a miniature version of Russia, in that you can go down various political branches, and then you could take extra land through various ways. You could attack Albania if you go down the military branch, for example. Of course, ideally, you're going to... Well, depending on what you consider ideal, but eventually you can have all of the Balkans either directly under your occupation or your puppet. So Serbia can become pretty strong, and it gets lots of cores, depending, especially if you go down the Slavic Federation route, which will give you plenty of population. And it's just a really fun country to mess around with. I usually say that beginners should play a South American country because it's very much contained. It's the Kaiserreich version of Noob Island. But if you want to come over here into Europe and start to see what the major powers are doing a little bit more closer, I think Serbia would be a great intermediate choice to make. Now, there is just one more thing I want to talk about before I end the guide. Sometimes, not every game, but sometimes Romania will have a civil war. And you have 5 options, one of which is stay out of it, which costs you political power, so you probably don't want to do that. You can choose to support either the Iron Guard or Romania under Carol. This is the guy who likes to party a lot in vanilla. And just send them some manpower and equipment. Or you could actually choose to intervene directly in either of theirs favor. So, for example, you can intervene on the part of the monarchists, and you'll automatically also get access to their Romania. But you can see here, you can then go to war with the Iron Guard, who you were at war with. I mean, who would have normally been your faction leader. But remember that the Congress of the Belgrade will deal with whichever Romania is the one left standing. So you probably want to wait until that's over to do it. But that's Serbia for you. Definitely a country I highly recommend. Really a country that I want to have a Let's Play on. In fact, let me know in the comments if you want to see me do a Let's Play. I'm just kind of torn between if I want to do it now or if I want to wait until the events and decisions and national unity things have been implemented in Kaiserreich, but that might take a few months for all we know. So let me know down in the comments if you'd want to see me do a Serbia playthrough right now, or if you want me to wait until after the new quality of life changes have been done. I'm Conquering History Games. Check the description, like the video, and comment. Tell me if there's anything you think I could do to improve future guides, and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day.